Hi guys, Job here from History and Reviews. So, I just got done watching The Walking Dead Season 8 mid-season premiere. I don't know what the episode name is, but this video is going to be containing a lot of spoilers, so beware of that. If you don't watch The Walking Dead, here's spoilers. If you have plans in life or something and you can't watch the episode till a later date, well, there are spoilers in this video. Again, I'm warning, in 3 seconds I will be giving spoilers. So, spoilers for the episode. Don't get mad if I spoil something, because I'm warning you. This goes for anything in the episode. 3, 2, 1. Okay, so, Walking Dead Season 8 mid-season premiere was, it was pretty good. Pretty good. It wasn't the best. A lot of times when I watch The Walking Dead, I feel like it has, I wouldn't say pacing issues, but they do the same sort of structure in the episodes. Like they they do the same sort of, like, they show a later part of the episode first, and then the present, what we're supposed to be seeing later, and then they like when they go to commercial break, they'll show a part of the episode that's supposed to be way later. Like, they do it out of order, and it's a cool thing. I don't know, it's hard to explain, but, like, so spoiler, Carl dies in this episode, and the first thing they show is them digging his grave. And it's not like they're gonna go from digging the grave on. They're gonna go from digging the grave, and then they're gonna show Carl alive and stuff. You know what I'm saying, about structure and stuff like that. Like, they do it out of order, and it's not a bad thing, but a lot of the times, not a lot of the time, some of the time it just gets kind of old, and it did in this episode a little bit. In this episode, I felt it had some sort of weird pacing issue, or just some sort of, like, I don't know how to describe it, but at times watching it, you kind of just like, ugh, that just is weird, and like, oh my gosh, like, speed it up a little, or like the conversations between Carl and Rick and Michonne are like, it's sweet, but it's kind of the same thing. And all the conversations, from the sewer conversation to when they bring him to the church, the burnt down church, it's kind of not the same conversation, but it just feels that way. It has that sort of, that feel. Action in this episode was pretty good. And again, another thing with The Walking Dead that they have an issue with is just, I don't know. One thing is just the repetition in gun sounds. I know the gun sounds, or if they're using the same gun, like if they have like 2 AR-15s, they're gonna probably sound the same on the TV show. But The Walking Dead lacks in, like, variety and excitement and differentiation between gun sounds. Like, they're a lot of the same. The AR-15s, that well known, and like a pistol's that, like, you know, it's very. They repeat a lot of that in The Walking Dead, and they just keep doing it. And I mean, they maybe just mix it up. And not, a lot of things they don't. Something they don't do in The Walking Dead that I wish they would do is, going off a little off topic, but, you know, when a gun, when you fire a gun, I mean, they do it a lot in The Walking Dead, but not often. When you shoot a gun, there's that little tell, or that little in the air, kind of the shockwave sound, it ripping through the sound barrier in the sky, the crackle above your head. If you know what I'm talking about, if you ever heard a real gunshot, they need to do that more. And another thing is, they need to, I don't know, something about the walkers. I mean, killing walkers is cool, but they need to find new ways to do it, because I don't know, it's just the same old shooting the head. And same way with the humans. The humans die in the same expressive way, where they get stabbed, shocked face, the music picks up intensely. The Walking Dead recycles a lot of stuff, and I mean, I'm not bashing on it, but in this episode, you really just start to see old things being brought back, which, it can be a good thing, can be a kind of a bad thing. This episode was a 7 out of 10. It wasn't the greatest. I feel like Carl's death, for such a significant character, I wouldn't say it was rushed, but it just felt weird in this episode. It was a good episode, but it just it just felt weird. And it's, I mean, yeah, it just felt odd. This episode just kind of felt a little weird. Something about it, I don't know what was weird about it, but something definitely felt weird and off. And I mean, there's not much I can say, not in spoiler wise, but I mean, episode wise, it was a pretty good episode. Not the best. But some things in The Walking Dead, they have also have this in dialogue. They have the same sort of pacing where every character seems to have this grand vocabulary where they, you see, what's his face? He died in the episode by a stick through the throat, by a boy. What's his name? Gavin. Gavin, like, all these characters in The Walking Dead have, like, this upheld, high, exquisite vocabulary. And, I mean, I know they do it because they try and make the storyline more deep and the dialogue more connecting and more serious and stuff like that. And kind of like Shakespearean. But they use all these huge words in The Walking Dead. I mean, real life, a lot of people just talk like this. They just kind of chat. And I feel like The Walking Dead, they rely heavily on speeches and stuff. And the speeches are dying old on me. That's something I wish they would... I mean, who knows? Real life, I don't know. We're not in that situation, so we wouldn't know how people would react. But that's another thing, is the dialogue and the speech is getting weird. Not weird, but just overused in the sense that they pace their dialogue in the same way where they talk and there's silence, and then they talk and then there's silence. It's kind of like, for example, like, and we're gonna kill them, and we are going to write, kind of the same kind of fluctuation in the voice that they do on the show. And Rick's speeches are good, great dialogue written, but I mean, they kind of get a little old because he's given a lot of speeches from the farm, or from Atlanta to the farm to the prison to now. Even that short little sequence in Terminus. I said Terminix. Terminus. Terminix is a bug killer, I think. Just the speeches and the way they fluctuate their voice and dialogue is something, if you watch the show, you'll know that they do. You'll notice that that's a thing that they do. Overall, though, pretty good episode. Again, not the best. It just felt weird. Just something about it. You watch it, you may love it, but I love it, but it's not my favorite. I'll be generous. 7.5 out of 10. Good 75%. That's where I'm going to stand. It's just, I love action, but I believe that a good episode can go entirely without action and still be great. I think that's something The Walking Dead can't necessarily nail. I feel The Walking Dead has been built up so much and relies so heavily on action that you can't... Having a Walking Dead episode without action is it kind of defeats the purpose. I feel that other shows can do that exquisitely well, like shows about banking and Wall Street and business and communications and technology. All these other TV shows that don't have to have action, about like romance and stuff, they can do well without any of that stuff. The Walking Dead needs action, I feel. The Walking Dead isn't a type of show that you can have a whole episode without dialogue, because that's just something The Walking Dead isn't really good on. I mean, they're good on dialogue, they're good on speeches, they're good on how things play out in terms of vocab and wording and speech, and not on action. But The Walking Dead, it's a show that has to have action, if you know what I'm saying. Like, The Walking Dead, the way they say their lines, the way characters deliver lines, who the characters are, it's just, if The Walking Dead had no action, it'd be weird. But other action shows could have an episode entirely without action and it'd be beautiful. Just the way it's written and stuff, if you guys know what I'm saying. Anyway, back to the story, finally. So, here's how the story went. Basically, it shows... sorry, I got a mint in my mouth. It shows beginning of Carl. He's writing Rick, Michonne, everyone that he knows letters because he knows he's going to die. It shows when he got bit. I absolutely love to death how they showed Carl's reaction when he got bit. I think about this all the time because it happened to me recently. Something happened to me. I don't remember what it was, but like, you can't believe it happened for a second, so you're in kind of shock, and you know, your physical body knows it happens, but your brain's trying to catch up. You guys know what I'm talking about, where it is shock, or other forms of the word, where you can't believe something's happened. If you ever happened, it's a weird feeling. You can't believe it happened, so you kind of just sit there and you stare, and then your brain's like, wait, did I do that? Did this happen? Did this really happen? It shows when Carl got bit, and he kind of shows like this ow, that hurt face, and then he just stares. And there's like this screeching, rumbling music that just rips apart your ears. It's kind of like this realization music, like, oh my gosh, I got bit. And it's just bokeh, which means he's in focus, background's really blurred out on his face, and he's just in shock, and the camera's slightly wavering around, and he's just staring. And it's still biting into him a little before I mean, his bite mark wasn't bad. It was like right here on his stomach, but no. Love how they did that. Was awesome. Because I always think about that, and I think they don't show that in shows a lot. Like, characters in shock, I mean, they do. But not that extent. Was just real, was beautiful, and was close to real life as you can get. The way they did that. Chandler Riggs is a great actor. Seriously, that scene's awesome. So they reveal how Carl gets bitten. Again, I love it because it's just so real. Then they go forward, and, I mean, I'm not going to remember all the details of the episode, but then blah, 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 they show Ezekiel talking to Gavin, and Gavin's blah, 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 and then Michonne, not Michonne, Carol and Morgan go out and kill some of the saviors, and eventually encounter the area where Gavin is holding up Ezekiel, and then they kind of have a showdown, which leads them into a theater, and then in the theater, all the men die but Gavin. Gavin was holding Ezekiel hostage in there. So they eventually, in a term of words, they back Gavin into a corner. Morgan and Carol and Ezekiel's there, and Ezekiel's like, you don't have to do this. I think Carol says you don't have to do this either. And then he says, Morgan says, no, I have to. You know, we all know Morgan's on that killing spree. And he doesn't kill Gavin. It's a weird angle. What happens is, earlier, before all that happened, before it showed Gavin getting attacked, and them being compromised, their position and everything, it shows Carol talking to a boy, and this boy's like, I want to come help you fight, and she says no, and like you kind of forget about the boy. He pops up later. He actually kills Gavin, which is what I mentioned in the beginning of this video. Morgan's like, no, I gotta kill Gavin, and you see him like bracing to do it, and then it shows like Morgan's in front of him. So I'm Gavin, Morgan's right here looking at me, and you see a stick go through his neck, and you're like, okay, that's a weird angle. Wasn't Morgan in front of him? And it's actually the boy that came and helped and killed Gavin and went right through his throat. So that happens, blah, blah, blah. It's a lot of Carl-centered shots and dialogue and scenes, and it's meant to be because it's his goodbye episode, and it's about 75%, 60 to 75% him. It's not as much as you would think. I mean, it's percentage-wise, yeah, but it just doesn't feel that way. Doesn't show any of Negan. So moving on, all that happens, and then eventually we get up to everyone leaves. After the Saviors are done bombing Alexandria, good guys all leave. Daryl, everyone leaves. Dwight leaves. And then it's Rick says, no, I want to stay here with Carl. Michonne agrees. Then eventually when they all leave and they make sure the Saviors are clear and whatever, and the good guys left, they bring Carl to this little church, and they kind of sit there and they talk to him, and Carl says, I love you to Michonne and Rick, and it's a good scene. That's a really good scene. And the way Carl ends up actually dying is he kills himself, and I mean, it was kind of a letdown. A little bit. Just a little. I don't know. It just, maybe if his dad would have done it, maybe that's a little too cliche for the writers. I don't know. But Carl kills himself, and they go into the church around, my guess would be around 3 in the morning, because before Carl kills himself, you see Rick and Michonne standing outside of the church waiting for Carl to kill himself, and you hear the gunshot, and it like the sun's rising, so they waited a while or talked a while, I don't know. But that happens, and it's sad. Another thing, before I close this video out, is I notice that that Andrew Lincoln, Rick, did a great job of acting and did a great job of expressing pain and grief for his son, but I feel like he needed more. Now, again, let me reiterate, real life, People grieve differently. People process pain mentally. People process the pain of losing a family member differently. So it's totally realistic, and it's totally normal to have Andrew Lincoln act. What I'm trying to say is Rick did not cry a lot. I mean, he did, but he wasn't like bawling. He wasn't shaking. He wasn't convulsing. He wasn't like stuttering real bad. He was just kind of there, not crying. He cried every so often, but his eyes weren't that red. He was just kind of sitting there, just not really talking. And again, it's real. But I feel for The Walking Dead, that type of TV show, we know what real life is. We know how we really work when we lose a family member. Maybe we don't cry like. Maybe we do show exactly grief like that. How Andrew Lincoln portrayed Rick when Carl was dying. Maybe you don't cry a lot. Maybe you don't express it in rage. Maybe you don't bawl your eyes out. Maybe you're just kind of quiet, and that's realistic. But I feel like for TV shows and movie, you kind of do need to show a bit of that screaming, and I mean, maybe people like that realism. But for me, I wanted to see Rick cry more because again, you got to think. Yeah, again, good night.
Be careful going in the morning, okay?
I will.
Okay, honey.
It just, I wanted to see more of his crying and his sobbing. I mean, he was crying and sobbing when Negan was about to cut off his son's arm. I'm in a totally different pain because Rick knew Carl was dead or was gonna die, and it's realistic. But I feel for like TV and drama and movies, we need to see that, just the crying and the bawling, just because it feels weird without it. We know that can be real life, but at times when we're watching it, we kind of feel like it's just a little less. Like we kind of need all that crying and drama, whatever. That more of expressed emotion to make it feel more connected, even though that's totally real how people can grieve. Some people grieve by laughing. Some people grieve by joking around. That's just who we are as people. It's kind of the process of shock. But overall, pretty good episode. Would say The Walking Dead's getting old, but they just recycle a lot of things, and you will see the things they recycle in this episode. Just little things. I don't know what it is, but it's peppered throughout the episode, and you'll definitely probably notice. If not, that's whatever. That's just me. I'm not picky, but I definitely did notice things. So, yeah, I hope you reviewed. I hope you enjoyed this review of whatever the episode title is. Here's the title. Now it's gone. Probably was never there, but that was the title of the episode. Oh, here's the title again. Now it's gone. Now it's back. Now it's gone. You're probably not actually going to see the title, but I don't know what the title is. Walking Dead Season 8 mid-season premiere. What the heck is a premiere? I'm Job from Job and Josh's History and Reviews. And Jacksepticeye quote, if you liked it, punch that like button in the face like a boss. And high fives all around. Whoosh, whoosh. Thank you guys, and I will see all you dudes in the next History and Reviews.